Welcome back to Midday. We have Dr. Paul Hunter joining us from the Columbia Summit Veterinary Hospital, and thanks for being here.
Yes, fun to be here.
You always bring a guest, or most of the time, so who do we have today?
Well, this is Wilson. He's my dog, actually.
He's so fluffy.
I think he's 14 or 15 weeks.
Oh,
so
he's
a
just
baby.
a little guy.
Oh yeah, he's a baby. That's why he's a little hard to convince.
That's okay. He did
So
well. It took him a few
job,
minutes to come over here, but that's all right.
He's our farm guardian dog.
Is he?
And he's just going to learn how to look after things.
Aww.
So he doesn't really like town much.
No, this is traffic and too many people.
Yeah.
Well, he is super, super cute.
Yeah.
So what topic are we talking about today? I know that I was looking at some pictures that you had sent earlier, and it looked to me like we're talking about dogs' ears or animals' ears.
Well, I think we're kind of talking about like summer problems and...
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, so we tried to, because it's hard to have a new thing every time.
Yeah.
So I think the ear
have
thing...
good topics, though. Come on.
They're all, to me, just what we do. But
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
So I think the pictures they have, this is a retriever, and in the summer we get a lot of dogs, and retrievers are overrepresented in the group of dogs that get hot spots, which are skin infections after being chronically wet.
Right.
And breeds like retrievers with a heavy undercoat, where they have a heavy kind of guard layer of undercoat in the fur, tend to stay wet, and then many of them will get bacterial overgrowth from being damp at night or when they sleep, and then they get nasty infections that are very painful, and they're hard to treat because you have to shave that area and clean it, and so it's always nice to try to think of ways to avoid it. And so the avoidance is to really you know, make sure the dog gets dry after they swim. These are both ear pictures that we just looked at, but I'm going to try and finish this first. That's a really nasty ear infection that's really gone the whole distance, and it's wrecking the ear. There's pus in the middle and very thickened, inflamed skin, and you don't want to see that. So that's a hot spot. So they get itchy because it's wet and bacteria growing on the skin,
and then, like you said, you have to shave that area.
Yeah, so they're painful too. Yeah. So to avoid them, and then they get them under the ears where the ear flap hangs down when they're wet, and they get moist, and they get a moist dermatitis. It's like that. That's a retriever with a hot spot.
Oh, that's not really painful, look very nice.
That would take a lot of management. Like for that, you'd clip it and clean it and put them on antibiotics and have things topically to reduce the pain and itching. And yeah, they're frustrating. So the best way to manage it is try to avoid it. So,
how do you do that?
So some dogs just get them very easily, and most dogs don't really get them unless they kind of get in the right conditions, like they're wet all the time, or classic is like you're at the lake and the dog's in and out of the water all day long and goes to bed wet and doesn't dry out, and then ends up with suddenly the dog seems to get smelly, and then they seem to get, you know, very sore in that area like you saw there. So managing them would be, if your dog is inclined to getting them, cleaning them more frequently with something like, there's a chlorhexidine shampoo here, which would be a shampoo that would be antibacterial and kind of reduce the overgrowth of bacteria. Or the other spray is kind of a colloidal oatmeal sort of a product you can spray on, and there's variants of both of these things to do that.
Oatmeal is always something that's in products for skin to relieve itching and stuff, right?
Yeah, colloidal oatmeal is an antioxidant, so it provides oxidizing surface for damaged skin and allows it to reduce the oxidizing damage and then maybe settle it down. And it's good to be preventative and avoid getting to the worst case. So cleaning them, you know, once in a while, drying them off, don't let them go to bed wet. There's various products that purport to avoid it, but I'm not sure. You know, it's very hard sometimes to pin this stuff down.
Yeah, and if you have
whatever
a dog
works,
with a long coat, right? Yeah, or a heavy coat.
And many retrievers don't get it, but then some are just terrible.
Is it primarily retrievers that you see?
No, I mean labs. Every breed can get it. Okay. But those, because they're water dogs and they swim and they stay wet, they're very typical.
So should you towel dry like your dog?
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
You could blow dry it, I guess.
Just blow dry it, well, with a brush.
Best is, maybe the simple thing is just don't send your dog, try and avoid it swimming in the evening and staying wet would help. And maybe provide a bed that will absorb some of the water.
Or make sure they're dry before they go to bed,
And there's no perfect answer. Like, it's a kind of work with it So not everybody gets it.
Okay.
Dogs also get swimmer's itch, which is a bit frustrating.
Wow.
Yeah, so if your dog, and it's hard to, what do we do for swimmer's itch? I think we dry ourselves off right after exiting the water so the little parasites can't burrow into the skin.
Yes.
And if you have duck itch in the water, the best plan is like, don't swim there. Take the dog somewhere else, or, that's a tough
So
one.
treat it as if you were going to be going in the water.
Yeah.
Don't go if there's swimmer's itch there.
So you can imagine at Scotch Creek, where I think they get a lot of swimmer's itch at times of the summer, that could be a real snag, right? So we see a few dogs with swimmer's itch. And then ears, cleaning ears regularly, like ear flushing them, where you fill the ear right up with an ear flush and dry it out, would help avoid that. So
it's
that's
hard to clean dogs' ears sometimes, though. My dog doesn't love when you...
You could teach them to love it.
Yeah,
if you, for instance, used a treat like this one, which is like barbecued pork and tastes very good.
Like
I'm almost tempted to eat those. They smell so good. But if you were to like treat your dog every time you did the ears with something
then they
that
know
they
they
never got,
associate it with being something okay.
they become running for that thing.
Right.
Piece of steak.
Yeah.
Give them a sirloin steak.
Well, and my dog has Beagle in her, so, she's going to be really going for the food.
Yeah, beagles love that stuff. This
She'll
would
do
appeal.
anything for food.
This would really appeal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the hotspot ear thing, and it's really management and maintenance.
And that's primarily what you would see in the summer.
We see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's many times people will manage it themselves, and that's fine. You don't have to, if it's not bad, you don't have to get into CS, hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't end up like the one that we saw there.
So keep an eye on it too.
Yeah.
I mean, don't let it get to that stage.
Yeah.
Not easy to do, I guess,
Well,
if you have a
see
dog
it
with
beginning,
long
then
hair.
maybe give it a little flush with a sort of maybe give them that chlorhexidine-based shampooing, or we have chlorhexidine rinses. You could just rinse the spot and dry it, and even if you were that person, you could have a pair of clippers and clip it and clean it and avoid it. And we have clients that do that too. The ones that really struggle with it.
Right. How often should you bath your dog at this time of year then? Or is it kind of just depending on how smelly they are?
No. Well, you shouldn't get your dog smelly, but some dogs need to be bathed weekly.
Yeah.
Some dogs with allergies need to be bathed even more frequently.
And I guess if they're in
the
water all the time, maybe take that into consideration.
And some dogs that swim every day have great skin.
Yeah.
A friend of mine at the coast, his dog swam in the ocean every day, and that dog had great skin.
Really?
I don't know. He said
Ocean water.
He thought it was the salt water.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it may be. So that was the skin thing. I don't know. So
what is this?
So the other
it's
topic
like a
we were going to
little-
one on was, because it's summer holidays, is traveling with your pet and things to think about.
Yeah.
That's a little travel pack that one company produces, and it's got a few things. It's got a water dish and a couple of packages of oatmeal colloidal shampoo.
Okay.
And
Something good to have in the car, maybe.
I have to look at the back. And a poop bag, pickup bags. And toothpaste, right? So those are all pretty sensible. And then they have Zilkine, which is a stress-reducing supplement that causes endorphin release in the brain and calms your pet down. So for traveling, that's another great thing.
Some animals aren't great in cars too. So okay.
Yeah. So some dogs need help with that. The point of the water dish is kind of appropriate because we've had quite a long spell of some sort of infectious cough going on in dogs and camels in the last few months. And it's been quite something. And it's not just Bordetella, which is canine cough or kennel cough, we call that. It's been other agents, and in testing some dogs, there's been, things like, I think there's been Pastorella and Staph and, things that people get too, right? And so these things happen, and so the idea of the collapsing water bowl is a good point, which is don't use public water dishes. They are not good. That's like going to the bar and everybody just drinks out of whatever glass of beer is next to them and then share them, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to end up with what everybody else has. So it's better to provide your pet with its own water.
Yeah.
It seems a bit crazy to carry it around, but if you're traveling and you're going to be stopping at places where you're not at home, it's better to just avoid those public water dishes.
Absolutely. Good. Well, thanks. Dr. Hunter, as always, some informational topics for people out there, for animal owners. ColumbiaSummitVetHospital.com is the website, and the phone number's there on the screen, and you can find out all that information on the website as well.
Okay.
Excellent. We'll be right back. Stay with us.